This year in May, the topic was an explosive volcano. So, oh my goodness. And this was held in Yogyakarta, one of the outskirts on the base of Mount Merapi in May of this year. But the important thing for this engagement was an understanding of how the government of Indonesia wanted to approach this, because they finally realized, and they were very proud of the change in their national laws, where the centralized government from Jakarta was going to respond. So the law was changed to make, guess what, all the governors responsible for emergency response and preparedness, just like the United States. And so how are we going to change the procedures and actually exercise them so that, you know, the central government can help the governors and the provinces to be successful. And with the topic of an explosive volcano that pops every 2 to 6 years, Mount Merapi, that was the topic. And boom, 26 October this year, it blows. Next slide, please. And at the same time, the day before, a tsunami, a massive earthquake hits off of Mentawai Island with casualties. And can we go on to the next slide for the volcano eruption? All I can say after a couple of years of working with preparedness people in the Indonesian government is just that it would have been much worse if it was a situation like before, because they did have the early warning beyond the island. And just like for us in the state of Hawaii, if an earthquake or a volcano pops on the Big Island, we have only 30 minutes. So we will have casualties, but we have procedures to sound out sirens right away and to evacuate as quickly as possible. Sometimes when you're in the epicenter of when it happens, that's just bad luck, and 200 or so casualties for the tsunami. And the difficulty in Mount Merapi was a lot of the farmland and the people that just kept farming closer and closer to the volcano. And we're just thankful that it didn't blow all at once in a series of days. You know, interrupted international air traffic, to include shutting down Yogyakarta Airport, one of the major airports. But by the time of this report, 34 deaths. Really, the Indonesian lost over 300 plus. So I don't mean to say this in a callous way, but the discussions with the Indonesian officials is that they're grateful that it's only triple digit in losses, because they're used to quite a bit more. Next slide. They really, since the 26th of October, they had a series over a couple of weeks, and that relieved the pressure off of that volcano. But this is all about pressure buildup, and there's a reason why Mount Merapi blows every 2 to 6 years. But I talked with the governor of Yogyakarta, and I told him I was absolutely impressed, because the last time Mount Merapi blew in 2006 with an earthquake, I saw a lot of new construction in Yogyakarta and very little of the earthquake damage from 2006. Well, unfortunately, they now have to recover from the 2010 earthquake. Okay, this is when I was here with Major Takai, and we were on a training mission, Garuda Shield. We have some pamphlets floating around to train the Indonesian Armed Forces and other members of Southeast Asia to make them proficient in United Nations peacekeeping. But part of engagement is also helping the local community. And I was asked to represent the United States Pacific Command in the dedication of a brand new water system for the town of Cipitat in Bandung province. And with this water system, they could now move from serving 400 families to 1,200 families. And this water distribution system extended out 5 kilometers. And you have a well system that pumps the water out, treats it, and then distributes it to the town of Cipitat. So next slide. So I was very impressed. Indonesians want a dedication ceremony, so they had us welcome in the traditional Indonesian manner. Next slide. We were told wait until we were brought in officially. Next slide. And we were welcome. This is my key guy that I had to work with is Babak Daria, and he's sort of like the mayor of this town, and this is the provincial governors were represented here, and with the rest of the dignitaries from the Indonesian military and the Indonesian government. Next slide. So I was honored to open the valves and set the water flowing. Next slide. And from Babak Daria got a very nice Indonesian puppet for my efforts. Next slide. And this is the permanent plaque that's there from the United States of America to the people of Indonesia, and investment by America, $200,000. And I'm going, wow, built all of that for $200,000? 5 kilometers of piping and the water distribution system. You ain't seen nothing yet. Okay, next slide. Okay, the military side now. This is the Indonesian Armed Forces that we were training to be United Nations peacekeepers, opening ceremonies. Next slide. And my partner, Major General Sanarko, reviewing the troops. We had representation from Brunei, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and the Philippines. And I'll tell you, if I'm a United Nations official, I want the Indonesian troops as peacekeepers. This is a United Nations compound. But you don't see in the newspapers or even in the brochure, why do we do all this? And my discussion face-to-face with General Sanarko, and he says, General, you gotta help me out. In this period, we really need to do a good job to train our Indonesian peacekeeping troops. And the reason why I explained that is the current peacekeeping mission, 1,000 Indonesian peacekeepers in Beirut, Lebanon. It's keeping the peace between Hezbollah and Israel. And General Sanarko told me, he says, they just got word from the United Nations. The Spaniards are ineffective. They've asked the Spaniards to leave. And they want double Indonesian forces on the November rotation last month. I'll tell you, that's why out of all the countries I compared with, the troops from Indonesia are top-notch. And nothing like having Muslim peacekeepers in a dangerous part of the country where we can depend on them. So what Major Takai and many members of our Hawaii National Guard did in that exercise, it's going to pay dividends years and years to come. You know, and they had to learn UN peacekeeping protocol, because U.S. peacekeeping protocol is a little different than the UN side. Kind of do it our way, you know, as the 8,000-pound gorilla. But all I can say is the Indonesian troops trained in peacekeeping over the past couple of years by us are immensely effective in Beirut and trusted by the United Nations. So I think that says a lot when the Spaniards are asked to leave, not effective. I want them to be replaced by the Indonesians.